since the question came up, I went back to look at this hot tub deck design, the members for it. First I started to see, how heavy can these hot tubs get, and looking at some of these 9'2" long, etc. The largest model, prefabricated model, is apparently 9 foot by 9. And 5,500, a large hot tub. And the one we worked with was about 5,000 net. So finally I went to a hot tub site and picked, this is a large swim spa thing, 1,350 pounds the tub is, 1,600 gallons of water, and it's 12 foot by 7 foot 8. Then I made this spreadsheet to account for the length, the width, how much square foot, all of this, and using this, 8 people at 200 pounds in that particular tub, it gave us a net of about 177 pounds per square foot, and we had been working with about 152, so we were already up there, but nowhere near this 177 pounds per square foot. And I looked at a bigger one. This one's 16 foot long, and I plugged those same dimensions in here, the 16 foot long by 7 foot 8 wide and 1,850 gallons. Put those same numbers in here, 1,850 water, and I figured 10 people at 200 pounds apiece, and what we ended up with there was about 157 pounds per square foot, which is similar to the 152 that we were working with. So the next thing I did was made this hot tub these kind of limitations, 1,600 pounds the weight of the tub, 1,500 gallons, and I'm showing it in 8 by 12 wide, since I didn't see anything wider than 7 foot 9. I have situated where it's the hardest on these joists, right in the center here, in this test, in this first run. And then I put this hypothetical 12 by 8 hot tub, 1,500 gallon hot tub with 1,600 pound weight in here. Still used this 10 people at 200 pounds apiece. And the net on that was about 167.26. So that's, I worked with that going forward in testing these members with these values per square foot. And you can see I calculated this people weight, just the average of 8 at 200 and 10 at 200 was 17, so I said 20 pounds per square foot for the people. So I went back to the center load joist and changed these loads and where they're located. Now I've got the big hot tub, the 8 foot wide to 12 foot long, and I have it situated in the center of the joist span from 3/8 to 11/8, and all the rest is just regular floor loading. And the original solution, which was number 2 2x10s at 12 inches on center, fails. However, the number 1 does pass. Similarly, going back to where the hot tub is either pushed to the north or the south on that deck at some point, the left loading, so it's a similar thing. The 2 2x10s, number 2, fail, but the number 1 passes. So 2x10 joists, they pass if they are number 1, and that is in either scenario with this big 8 foot wide by 12 foot long tub situated dead center, or with them left loaded. And they still, either of those situations, are still able to use this hanger. And I have upgraded this hanger with SDS screws to give us a lot more on the breakaway and holding it together instead of these nails. So the joists are fine in that scenario. Next is the effect on these beams at the south and at the north. With this is where the most loading is, about 980 pounds of linear foot along here. For each of those joists, when this is situated in a corner this way or that way, each of those joists, each of those hangers is holding about 980. So I tested it here. That's going to put the heaviest load on this column here, just to make sure these foundations at 30 inches were adequate. This is what it had been before, the max loading here down 6,700. And going here and putting these loads in that corner, the two number 2 2x12s, which I had specified, failed now, and those would have to be upgraded to number 1s. And this is with that hot tub, as I said, down in that lower corner, for example. And this column 2 That is now upgraded from that, whatever it was, 6700 to 7816. And then this is my program to figure out the loading on those footings. And if I put in that 7816 or 7820, you need a 28-inch square footing, which that translates to 750 square inches, and this is the square inches per diameter. 30 inches gives us 707. So that's very close, and I would be fine with that if you're fine with that. Otherwise, you'd have to upgrade those to 36 or 32. I don't know what auger sizes they have, but I know they have a 30. So that one, I left that alone because that's going to be a rare event. Yeah, those are the two numbers that matter here. 751 square inches and 30-inch auger gives us 707. And you could widen that out a little bit at the bottom if you want to. Take a spade bar and widen that out at the bottom, and it would be the same effect. So that's what I'd recommend there. And just leave these at 30 inches diameter. And then this is the new loading down here. Remember, these beams here have upgraded to number 1. The next thing with the south end was to double check these corner footings, and they didn't really change much. Before they were about 2640 anyway. I think they might have been a little less, but these 24-inch footings can handle anything up to 4700. So nothing changed there. After that, and the final piece to check is this beam E1 up here. It had been specified as 3 2x10s, SYP number 1 or 2, and if I put the tub up there, that's the worst case scenario for that beam, and put those numbers in at the right places. You can see the heavy load down through here with it where it is at that location. Those number 2s will fail, and once again the number 1s will pass in 2x10s. And one of the critical things about that beam, one of the reasons that I limited it to 2x10s as members, is because it has to bear at this end 1.5 inches, because we have the other beams coming through there, and the beam connector at those corners. So I have tried to limit that through the design to 2x10s, because the alternative was buying a special hanger from Simpson, and I priced those, and they were about $4.90 a piece. It shows it here that 1.5 is the requirement on those end columns, 1 and 1 or 1 and 4. So that is how that's put together, and why there's straps over the top of those columns in the final design. So the final change, or this is what it looks like now, having run those tests with that bigger hot tub and more weight. The upshot of that is that these changed to number 1. All these members, all the members that were specified as number 1 and number 2 in this hot tub deck changed to number 1 only, and everything else remains the same. So I've just updated the drawings with that information there. With that update to the drawings, this is the other thing that I had added that I mentioned that seems to make sense to me, is I added this language here so that we could just build this, that you could build this porch if you wanted to. And I also added this note here, and I'm going to let this run for a while so you can read it. And I don't know if we probably don't even need to leave number 4 in there, frankly. I think I'm going to strike that before I print these to a PDF, and I'll send these over to you as soon as I'm done here. I added these ceiling fans because this is the spacing you want. You really just want to divide that room by 4, and whatever that is, that's your side dimension for an even distribution of air. These are these beams that I talked about earlier, these false made of 1x and 1x6. Going up here, I have them centered on the fans. There's no way to have a relationship really to these columns because of the spacing necessary for the door. But this was in order to run this typical soffit material on the ceiling, or beaded ceiling material, and overcome that 12-foot limitation on that material, and you just J-channel that in along these beams. And I think that is about the only changes to those drawings. And now section B looks like this if you put those beams in, but you can put them anywhere on that floor. Maybe you can run 3 of them, but that was just something to overcome having this seamless. It's not available as shown here. So I'm going to update these 2 or 3 sections here and send them over to you. So because of the timing issue, I'm sending these over to the printers now, this set that I'll be emailing you, and they show showing the hot tub deck as an optional thing and upgrading all those members to number 1 SYP. One final and critical change I've made in this final set, the ones that are dated 3/25, is I have just removed that whole note about the hot tub loading. I think I've shown you enough data that you already know what that can handle, and I don't want to raise any red flags with them. Shown as framed, this would pass any kind of plans oversight. So that's what I'm going to take to Xenia tomorrow at 10:30. And if we have to change after that, we'll just have to change. But I think this is the best way to go right now. Thanks very much.